Hello, 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 Facebook friends and Facebook family. I know it's a little late, but when I give you a promise of what I'm going to do, that's when I'm going to keep my promise. And today is February 4th. Today is February 4th, and we are giving you information on Black History Month. Yes, Black History Month. We're going to share, or I'm going to share, or Mobile Notary 24/7 is going to share Black History Month awareness with the entire world. We want our children to be able to know what struggles their ancestors had when trying to allow us as an African American race to vote. So people need to get out and vote this year and definitely next year. So we have people that in the 1800s, they fought for us to vote. So we need to get out and vote. I'm going to be sharing information with you today on the sit-in movement. Okay, but first off, I want to give you a trivial question. Hello there, Mr. Bailey. I want to give you a trivial question to see if you can get this answer correct. So our first trivia question is, born Eleanora Fagan, and that's F-A-G-A-N, the popular vocalist was nicknamed Lady Day. What was her professional name? Here's the question again. Born Eleanora Fagan, the popular vocalist was nicknamed Lady Day. What was her professional name? That's question number one, trivia question number one. Question number two is, who was the first woman of any race to preach at St. Paul's Cathedral in London? Again, who was the first woman of any race to preach at St. Paul's Cathedral in London? So those are the two trivia questions. We're going to give you the answers at the end of the Facebook Live. So now we're going to talk about the sit-in pivotal movement. Here are the gentlemen's. The sit-in movement was... they called it the sit-in movements, the pivotal movement. And the sit-in movements employed the tactic of non-violence direct action and was a pivotal event during the civil rights movement. On February 1st, 1960, there were 4 African-American college students attending historical black colleges and universities, and those range from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical College. They powered a sit-in movement across the country. Their names were Joseph McNeil, Franklin McCain, David Richmond, and Ezell Blair Jr. They sat down at a Woolworth's lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina, where they were refused service. Now, I'm going to show my age here because I loved Woolworth back in the day. That was one of my stores. I loved Woolworth. So now, many students from across the country followed by example, as sit-ins provided a very powerful tool for students to use to attract attention. Now, nonetheless, they did not leave. The next day, Roland Martin and Robert Patterson, along with Mark Martin, shown in this picture here, and that's all 3 of the guys there for the sit-in, okay? They sat in at the lunch counter for the entire day. Within weeks, there were lunch counter sit-ins throughout the southern states, soon followed by kneel-ins at all-white churches, and then wait-ins at swimming pools and picket lines in front of movie theaters and department stores. Many of the participants were students that were trained in non-violent strategies who learned to sit patiently while white crowds harassed them, sometimes peddling them with food and pulling them from their seats. Although earlier sit-ins had not brought about widespread emulation, after Greensboro then became the staple of the civil rights movement. So although earlier sit-ins had not brought about widespread emulation after Greensboro, they still became a staple of the civil rights movement. This was one small role that Baltimore played in the civil rights movement of the 1960s. The city facilitated social movements across the country as it saw bus and taxi companies hiring African Americans in 1951 and 1952. Morgan State College students saw the success of the sit-ins in Greensboro, North Carolina, and they wanted to utilize this tactic in the department store restaurants. There were massive amounts of support from the community for the students' efforts, and more importantly, while white movement, and support grew in favor of desegregation of department store restaurants. So that sit-in movement was very pivotal to prove a point. Okay? So I hope you found that very informative. And Lester, you said, let's see, Diana Ross played Billie Lady Holiday in the movie Mahogany. You are just too smart for me, Lester. You're just too smart. You're going ahead and giving the answer. So let's go ahead and answer, since Lester got the answer right again. The first question was, born Eleanora Fagan, this popular vocalist was nicknamed Lady Day. What was her professional name? And yes, Lester, you are correct. Her professional name was my last name, spelled with one L, Billie Holiday, whose autobiography is entitled Lady Sings the Blues. So I hope you guys got that right. Let's see. The other question was, what was the first woman, or who was the first woman, of any race to preach at St. Paul's Cathedral in London? Who was the first lady of any race to preach at St. Paul's Cathedral in London? And her name is, give me a runner-up. Her name was Coretta Scott King. Coretta Scott King was the first woman to preach at St. Paul Cathedral in London. So I hope you got those two questions correct. I'm going to give you a what did you know that in 2002, Tiger Woods became the first youngest golfer to win 8 PGA major titles. 2002. Did you know that Tiger Woods became the youngest golfer to win 8 PGA major titles? Also, did you know in 1992, Mae Jemison became the first black female U.S. astronaut? In 1992, Mae Jemison became the first black female U.S. astronaut. So I do hope that you found this information very enlightening. Please feel free to share with our children so they are aware of Black History Awareness for Black History Month, the month of February. We need to make sure that we know exactly what went on with the struggle back hundreds of years ago, so we'll know that, yes, this is the reason why this happened. This is the reason why we need to get out and vote, because our ancestors fought for us to vote. Okay? So I do hope that you found this helpful. Lester, thank you for joining me today and getting the answers right. You are just one genius of a man. Until the next time, guys, you have yourself an awesome day. I will see you tomorrow on February 5th for Black History Awareness Trivia Show. Until the next time, guys, have yourself an awesome evening. Bye-bye.